All right, folks, no question about it here. We're talking about, a great time in sports right now. You got the World Cup going on. You've got all the storylines going on in college football. And also, you're talking about the NBA finals and you're talking NHL finals. I mean, I've never seen really a scenario where usually this is called like the downtime when it comes to sports. And we saw yesterday the World Cup here with Paraguay and Team USA. First time they've scored that many goals in the opening round of a World Cup since the 1930s is the last time that they've done this. I'll say this to you about American soccer. It's got to get to a point in our country where soccer becomes a mainstream sport. And I was talking with Christine Brennan in the last hour. For some reason, from the ages of 12 until the ages of 15, that's where we end up losing the athletes in America when it goes to being in sports and really where soccer can end up going to. One of the things that really is going to be a centerpiece here is when you see Messi or you see Cristiano Ronaldo, you got to remember something with these athletes. These guys came from poverty. They didn't come from like great backgrounds and silver spoon backgrounds. They didn't come from great wealth. They created great wealth. In Argentina and in Portugal, these guys were taken as youth players and they were developed. In America today, if you're going to develop mainstream soccer stars, you've got to pay an excess of $50,000 to $60,000 a year for you to be able to go to some of these camps. And those are the players that these guys end up picking from. When you're around the world, these guys are being developed by other countries, and they're taking them and putting them in some of the best situations possible for those guys to go on and have an opportunity to be great stars on the national and world scene. That's why those guys, and that's why programs like Portugal or England or France and Germany and Italy and all of these countries like Brazil have great programs. It's not for the wealthy. Landon Donovan told me this a long time ago. When American soccer becomes a mainstream sport, look, I get it. In our country right now, soccer's not really perceived as a mainstream sport due to what? Because we're not very good in the world. It was a great opening for Team USA against Portugal with a 4-1 victory. No doubt about it. Does that build momentum? We'll see. But let's be fair here. The U.S. program has been behind for decades. Decades and decades it's been behind. And every 4 years, we keep being told that the program is going to be up and coming and we're just around the corner. And that we're just around the corner from being one of the absolutely best programs in the world. We're not around the corner for being the best programs in the world. I got into this about 34 years ago into sports broadcasting, and I'm being told the same thing over and over and over and over again, that we're just around the corner. We're almost there. United States soccer is not almost there. It's got to be a sport where you develop at the young age. Can you imagine if we had athletes like LeBron James or SGA or people like that were going and fulfilling maybe potential destinies once they're younger and they're playing soccer? Our country is so far behind, and it's behind in the development because the only thing we do is take kids from country clubs. It's a country club sport in America. This is why we are so far behind. We are behind because of that issue there. Parents have to spend as excess, as I said, of $50,000 to $100,000 a year just to get their kids seen for a potential shot at getting on the U.S. national team. Until that dynamic changes, we're going to be 22nd. We're going to be selling hope. I liked what the Fox guys did. The Fox guys did this. They sold hope. And they brought up the 1980 men's U.S. hockey team that went on to win the gold medal. And they said, why not us? That's the only thing we could sell right now when it comes to soccer in this country. Look, I don't hate the sport. I hate the way that the sport is developed in our country. You see all these great stadiums filled now. You see all these bars that are being filled in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston. You see that when they come to the United States, like there was a scenario where down in Auburn there was a World Cup friendly that was being played prior to the World Cup starting out. You had over 80,000 fans sitting in that stadium. You had the War Eagle flying around. It was a great atmosphere, and it was great to see. Until we see the United States really invest more into the youth of America, you're not going to be on the national stage. You're just not going to be in that position for you to be able to be in that position. It's just not going to happen. Okay? So at the end of the day, when we're talking about the growth of American soccer, it's got to start at the ages of 12 to 15. And when we can convert those kids for them to be able to have it, okay, there is no question about it. You got to say that American soccer, again, is not really where it needs to be. It just needs to be in a position right now where they can develop these young kids and get these guys the opportunity and to get better coaching. Look at the team. Look at the United States team right now. The United States team right now has a foreign coach running it. They don't get the proper coaching, and they don't have the proper facilities for them to be able to develop men's soccer. And until that case happens, okay, and until that gets down that lane, there is no question about it. You're going to be in a position where we're going to be selling 1980 U.S. men's hockey and hoping that we get into a position where, you know, this team gets an opportunity to one day compete at the national level like in Argentina or Spain. It's a shame, too, because with all the resources we have in this country, you can't sit there and try to tell me where we are when it comes to growing the sport, and we haven't grown the sport in over 35 years. One day we'll get to that point. Look at Nike and look at Adidas. Look at the amount of money that they invest overseas with the Premier League. The Premier League is one of the preeminent leagues in all of world sports. And every time they bring a team over here, they fill stadiums. The MLS is nowhere. U.S. soccer is so far behind the world, and we're selling hope. Look, I'm praying for these guys to have a really great run. It would be awesome. I think what the United States did a couple of years ago when it came to having the Barcelona Olympics and what they did by growing basketball. Look at what David Stern did back in the day with basketball. Back in the day, they had the dream team. The dream team was able to spread their wings and really pitch their flag overseas. And folks, soccer, without a doubt, it's not happening. And the NBA has now superstars in it, like Wemby. They have superstars like the star in Denver, like the star in Los Angeles. Got to get to a point where we have superstars in this league of the MLS before you get really great soccer in around the world for Team USA. Make no mistake about it, folks. Got to tell you, man, they are so far behind. I'm hoping that this 2026 World Cup will end up pushing American soccer forward. All right, my great friends at Morgan & Morgan, the number one injury law firm in all of America for a reason, folks. It is because they win. With over $30 billion recovered for clients across the country. Make no mistake about it, okay? This is what they do. That's why this company was founded. I tell you about the family in Pennsylvania with $650K initially offered. They ended up getting nearly $30 million in settlement. Or the family in Florida that got nearly, again, $12 million in settlement. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound love 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound love 529. We hope we're going to be able to catch up with our friend Bobby V. We'll do that next, right here on Sports Grid. This story in Chicagoland is absolutely absurd. This storyline that's going on with the Bears potentially moving to Hammond, Indiana, has now grown and grown. And now you've got both sides of the aisle, Chicago folks, Indiana folks, and now you've got the NFL chiming in. How in the world does Roger Goodell believe moving the Chicago Bears, one of the foundation pieces of the NFL, to Hammond, Indiana, is good for the Shield? Make that make sense. You know, you've got national commentators like Colin Cowherd saying it's only 17 miles. Well, guess what, folks? Colin is a mouthpiece for Fox Sports in what they do for the NFL. How about you, the fans? The fans of Chicago that built the identity of that fan base up over 100 years of legacy. You just want to trash and say, well, guess what? It means nothing. How in God's name do you turn around if you're the commissioner of the league or you're an owner in any respected market when an owner tells you he cares about the fans of the football team when at the end of the day, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth? How in God's name is that good for the Shield? And the commissioner telling you Hammond, Indiana is in the best interest. And that moving there without doing that. Make no mistake about it. Okay? That is without a doubt one of the most egregious things going on. I'll tell you what, we apologize here for some of the technical issues here, and it's not on Bobby's end, it's on our end here. And I got to tell you, Bobby, congratulations to you going into the Mets Hall of Fame. Thank you for doing this, my friend.
Okay, yeah, the connection wasn't, yeah. Okay, Dan, good to be with you again. Thank you.
You bet. Bobby, what was that like going into the Mets Hall of Fame?
It was spectacular. It was, that one day when you look back at it, 30 people in a private club together. It's kind of cool, after playing for them and coaching in the minor leagues and coaching third base and managing. It was special to be there at Citi Field with Lee Mazzilli, with family, with friends, and to share another moment with so many great people who affected my life positively.
How about this, Bobby? I mean, from a guy that grew up watching you in Stamford, Connecticut, the entire region, too. You know how many people were contacting me going, Bobby's at the stadium right now being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It made me feel a little bit part of that, too, Bobby, watching you go in, because that's where you really cut your chops there. It was in Stamford at Rippewam High School. And then to see you going into the Met Hall of Fame, that was pretty great for our city.
Well, I tried to mention that I was just lucky and blessed to have so many people in a great town of Stamford, Connecticut, so many family members, so many well wishers and coaches and people who were givers, and they taught me how to give. I think I tried to give back, and I think my entire career uh, basically revolved around sharing what I was doing with other people who were either with me physically as teammates or fans, or even remotely, someone who was reading about it in the paper that I was an all right guy, and we had a lot of great times together.
You know, I'm distant related to Andy Robustelli, and I wonder what impact he had on your life. Because I tell people this all the time, Bobby. When I was a little kid, Jackie Robinson used to show up to our Babe Ruth League, awards banquets. He lived up in North Stamford. I went to school with his kids. All those people, and how much of an influence they had on you growing up.
Yeah, I never got to meet Jackie. He was off of Cascade Road. That was a little far north for my family to drive. But Andy Robustelli, my goodness, you mentioned him. In a 12-month period, Dan, and I reflected on this when I gave my speech. From June of '67 until June of '68, in my life, I had Lou Lamorello be my coach in Cape Cod. I played there as a 17-year-old, and he took me on his team. I hit 300, and that's why I was drafted number one. Then after being drafted, I had Andy Robustelli negotiate my contract because my family had no idea on how to do such things. And then as I left Stanford, the day after Bobby Kennedy was shot, I got drafted with the Dodgers, and I went to Tommy Lasorda. So in a 12-month period, I had Lamorello, Robustelli, and Lasorda all positively affect my life, and that just amplifies the fact that I was very lucky.
No question about it, Bobby. I mean, just a really great life there. Hey, real quick here, man. The Mets are playing 500. You know what's psycho about that comment is they're 4.5 out of the wild card right now. Not really a lot of dominant teams right now. I mean, playing better ball right now, the Mets?
Yeah, playing better with enthusiasm, young guys bringing energy every day, and Carlos Mendoza. When I was there, and I took a photo with him in the dugout with a mustache and glasses. I just said, see if you could laugh a little, see if you could smile a little, make it seem like this isn't the end of the line. This is part of the journey, and I've seen a lot of smiles on that on his face and on that group's face since. I left there last week, and I hope the smiles continue.
How about where did Bobby? I haven't asked you this. Where did the mustache come from when you got tossed from the game? How did you come up with that idea with the mustache? Well, what were you thinking when you put that on and went back out in the dugout?
Well, it was a stressful time. I was thinking that the press was going to blow me up, and maybe my career was over. So I decided to go to a little levity, and the smiles appeared. The team loosened up in extra innings. We won that game, and I predicted that we would go 40-15 just 5 days before, and at the end of the 55-game stretch, voila, we went 40-15. I saved my job, and we went to the playoffs.
Absolutely. Hey, Bobby, could you stay for one more segment? Would that be okay?
Okay.
Thank you very Thank you very much. Bobby Valentine here, man. We put him through a lot there, so we appreciate him doing that there. Absolutely. We'll talk some Major League Baseball. We will get his thoughts, and we will start talking again about what stuff's going on in the game right now. Mets are playing better. How about the Dodgers ahead? We'll do that next right here on Sports Grid. Boy, I'll tell you what, man, you get some really great stuff when you go into the Mets Hall of Fame. Bobby's showing me the bat. Bobby, do me again. Show me the bat here that you got here. That's one of the pieces that you get for going into the New York Mets Hall of Fame. Bobby Valentine
Yeah, it's
joining
pretty
us here.
cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's I guess it's I don't know what it's made out of. It must be aluminum. It's really cool. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. What was the coolest thing about that whole event for you? What was it?
Oh, I think that so many of the friends and family were there, and I got to go in with Lee Mazzilli, who was a roommate of mine in 1977. We remained really close friends since then, and there it was, the two of us. The Italian stallion of Lee Mazzilli and the old gray-haired guy walking out there together was pretty special. Having my
Let's go
son
over.
put on my jacket during the ceremony, that was pretty. There's a lot of specialness, and I'm not gonna say that one finger is more important than the other. They're all part of the hand.
Absolutely here. So let's go over to one of your teams, though, the Dodgers here. How do you think they're playing so far this year, Bobby?
Uh, Mediocre, and they're just so talented. They can win a lot of games, and they've been relatively healthy. They missed Mookie a while, and now Otani has a situation that is going to be really scrutinized. The left knee, the landing knee on his when he's pitching. So maybe it's just the back of the hamstring. Maybe it's a knee. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but if they stay healthy, they're going to win their division, and they win their division, then those pitchers will try to dominate in the playoffs. They're a really good team, not playing that well, but a really good team.
You think they're going to make moves on the August 3rd trading deadline? I mean, Scooble's name is out there. Chapman's name is also out there. And again, it's just a wealth of riches right now that the Dodgers have. But could you see Andrew Friedman making a move close to the trading deadline?
Yeah, I could see them getting a closer like Chapman, someone that could lock it down because their offense isn't giving them a lot of space in some of these games, and they're gonna need to win those one-run games in order to sustain that championship edge. But they're really good. When you have that much talent on the field, it's fun to go to the ballpark every day.
Absolutely. If you're looking at the two teams in Chicago, Bobby, who are you buying more, the Sox or the Cubs this year?
Oh, I think the Cubs will come out. The Sox have had a nice run, but to sustain that after being where they've been the last few years, I think it's really tough. It's magical right now, but the magic wears off, and the talent's, I think, just a little too immature.
Absolutely. Bobby, why do you think the American League, there's only a handful, less than a handful of teams that are above 500? Why do you think that side of the league is struggling so much?
Well, they're not very good teams. The complete team really isn't out there. Aaron Judge is on the DL for who knows how long with the Yankees, and the other teams, the Rays and the Indians and excuse me, the Guardians and the Oakland A's. They're incomplete teams. So I think it's going to be a second half league where that second half of the season, whoever gets hot, whoever has that 14 out of 16 win streak there in the second half is going to go to the playoffs and maybe even carry it into the playoffs if the streak is late enough.
Bobby, couple last questions here for you. June 13th, are you surprised that the Tampa Bay Rays are in first place right now? Again, as you mentioned, Judge is out, so the Yankees have kind of wobbled in that lineup a tad. But are you shocked that the Rays are still in first place in the AL East as they head west?
Yeah, how I didn't mention them, I don't know. It's the best organization in baseball. That's simple. They've done it consistently, and they've done it magically year in and year out. So I'm not surprised that they're in first place, but I don't think that that's the overwhelming group of players that's going to win a world championship either.
Absolutely here. Finally here, Bobby, you think Seattle, 30 seconds here, you think Seattle is getting their sea legs now? They're starting to rally back around. They're leading the West right now. They struggled out of the gate. Do you believe that they found their sea legs?
The most talented team, that's for sure. And, I think they found Rodriguez swinging the bat the way he can, and that healthy pitching staff. They have the most talent, and it's not always the most talented team that wins, but the team that plays the best. And now they're playing a pretty decent brand of baseball also.
One more time, on a personal note from me to you, thank you so much. I love you very much. I mean, I grew up watching you, and I got to thank you so much. I mean, congratulations on a great honor and going into the Mets Hall of Fame.
Good to be with you, Dan. Thanks a lot. Go Stanford. Take care of yourself.
You got it. Rick Barry next here on Sports Grid. Without a doubt, an incredible time we have going on here now in the NBA Finals here. And I can't think of anybody else better to talk to than my friend, Hall of Famer Rick Barry. He joins us now here on Sports Grid. And Rick, 29 down. Charles Barkley said it was one of the dumbest teams he's ever seen in the history of the NBA. Was he right?
Well, Charles has a tendency to exaggerate things. It wasn't necessarily a dumbest team. The first half was one of the most amazing first halves in the finals game ever. They got out of their freaking mind. So they're not dumb. They couldn't go to basketball if they were dumb. What happened is that their inexperience hurt them, but also their inexperienced coach, I think, hurt them. I'm not one to criticize coaches, but I think he did a terrible job of handling that situation. And a few of the players. I mean, Fox had a terrible second half. I don't think that the coach used his personnel properly. I think he should have called a timeout. Even with, 5.5 minutes, 6.5 minutes to go, they still like a 15-point lead. Listen, timeout. Guys, stop shooting three-point shots early in the shot clock, okay? They had them in penalty situation. You go to the basket, you get free throws. You should have said, use the clock, no shots with anything more than 5 seconds, 5 seconds on the shot clock, unless you have a breakaway and an easy opportunity, and no three-point shots unless you get the ball with 3 seconds or less on the shot clock. And if they just done that, There's no way that the Knicks would have gotten back into that basketball game. And then, of course, the controversy with Fox, that should he have taken it and dribbled and used up more time? Yes. But he also went there nonchalant. He's got a 6'9" guy chasing him down the court. You don't go up and just take a routine, little easy layup. Go up and try to dunk it. He probably would have gotten fouled, at least at worst case scenario. But the best thing could have been to go and dribble out and make them chase him down and use up as much of the clock. And then Wemby misses 2 big free throws. But here's the one that nobody talked about. And this is the one where I think the coach really blew it. You don't ever, in a situation like that, with not that many seconds, 5.1 to go, ever not the guy bounds and give him free rein to watch what's going on and pick and choose where he wants to throw it and not have to worry about a guy in front of him waving his arms and doing stuff. A big guy should have been on the out of bounds play. It wasn't. And the guy closest who was kind of zoning up was Fox. And so now the pass goes on. He throws the ball. It goes to Brunson. And who's guarding him? Okay. 7'4", right? Wemby. It's going to be tough for him to do much. He's certainly not enough time to maybe get to the basket. So what does Fox do? He just ignored Anunoby, and he goes over to try to double, leaving Anunoby with nobody guard, and he had a clear path to the basket to get the offense. And nobody talked about that.
Rick, that was the coach then, in your opinion, calling timeout maybe in that moment prior to set everyone up? Because what you're saying is experience is playing a factor. How much do you look at that where you see the Knicks a couple years ago? I mean, Rick, 2 years ago, they made it to the second round. Last year, they made it to the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. This year, they're in the finals. Is it really just about learning how to win for the Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, if this team stays together, they're going to be a heck of a basketball team for a long time to come. And also the same thing of using your personnel. I think Mike Brown has done a great job. Mike knew guys were struggling. Mike went deeper into his rotation, used guys that hardly ever got a chance to play who came up, did a great job, helped them get back into the game. I mean, Harrison Barnes is sitting on the bench for you on the Spurs, right? Who's an experienced player with, pedigree with the Warriors and stuff. And he's got one of his guys, and I always mispronounce his name. It's kind of like, the French name, whatever the hell it was. Anyway, he was 0 for 7. 0 for 7, what, the Montague, whatever the hell his name is. And why would you not take him out of the game in that situation where you've got the big lead and put an experienced player in there to be able to do the right things? I don't understand that. I mean, you have to trust your players, and you got a guy of that quality sitting on your bench. Use them.
Rick, don't you agree? The Spurs are a more talented team than the Knicks. How are they up 3-1?
Well, they should be up 3-1 the Spurs. I mean, because they just did
Yeah.
silly things. Wemby throws the ball and a teammate not looking hits him in the back and winds up then fouling, fouling and giving up 2 points to Brunson. I mean, that cost him a game. And then why in the world, with the players they have on his team, I don't want Wemby shooting a 20-foot jump shot to win the game for me. I mean, I just think that they have made poor decisions how to utilize their personnel. If I'm guarding Wemby, there's no way Wemby's going to spend as much time as he spends with the Spurs now, 20 to 25 feet from the freaking basket. This guy needs to be on the block. He's got a guy that's 6'3", 4", whatever, guarding him sometime. Put him in the post. Throw him the high ball. Force them to come and double team him. And now Wemby can throw over anybody. Now you've got guys who are your good three-point shooters out there. They're set. They've got their feet there. Nobody's challenging them. They're going to get so many great open looks. I just don't like the way that they run their offense with a guy like Wemby on that team.
How do you think he's playing, Rick? Wembanyama.
Well, he's great. He's a hell of a player, but I don't think you want him out there shooting, what do you go, 2 for 8 from three-point range? There's no way you want him out there shooting three-point shots. Occasionally to stretch it, yes, just like the Joker. The Joker, who I love, the Joker gets inside. The Joker could pass. Wemby could pass. Use him. Bring him to the high post, run some other stuff and do it. But, he's 20 feet from the basket so often. And when he goes inside, then he's virtually unstoppable. So why would you not have a 7-foot guy with his talent playing inside? He has to certainly be in the paint.
Mike Brown has done such a great job. Have you been surprised?
No, because Mike Brown did a great job with the Warriors. They brought him in for his defense, and Mike Brown is a really good coach, and the Knicks defense has gotten better, and they're playing both ends of the court exceptionally well. And here's the thing that I said, you have to give great credit for the resiliency of the Knicks and the fact that they have never quit. And they've come from behind. They were down double digits, and they fought, and they just come back. I mean, not many teams are going to put the effort forth that they put forth to come back from 29 points down. I mean, that's embarrassing to lose a 29-point lead. I don't care if it's on the road. I mean, you just don't do that. And what the heck is the coach using to saving his timeouts? You know, if you have to, you take back-to-back timeouts, my God, if you have to do it. I mean, you have to stop the run, the momentum. Then you have to give some guidance to your team and tell them, like I say, no three-point shots. Stop it. We attack the basket. We pass. We move. We use the shot clock. Let's play. You got a guy that's struggling. Take him out of the game. Put one of your other bench players like a Harrison Barnes into the game and utilize him and just play intelligent basketball, because there's no way, if they had done that, that the Knicks would have had enough time to be able to get back in the game.
How impressed have you been, Rick, with Jalen Brunson? And like you said, I mean, you're down 29. You're down 14 in game 3. You're down, again, 12 points in another ball game. And yet that kid just seems resilient. I mean, have you been surprised with his play?
No, I've been very impressed by his play. He's shown that he has great confidence in himself, even if he's struggling and he's not shooting the ball well. And, you know, in a lot of the games he scored a lot of points, but he's taken a lot of shots to get it. But he doesn't allow his poor performance to affect him to the point that he doesn't still try to go out to do the things he knows he's capable of doing, which basically comes down to he is a supremely confident individual. And confidence is the one quality that you have to have if you want to be a great player. You must believe in yourself. And Brunson believes in himself.
You know, Karl Anthony Towns, Rick, I mean, have you been surprised with his play?
No, I've liked him. I met him when he was a young kid. I had dinner with him at a function in one of the casinos that the Hall of Fame in basketball does stuff with up there in New England. And I was very impressed with him. Very intelligent guy, plays hard, does a terrific job. I'm impressed by seeing how aggressive he's been going to the basket. I really like what he's done. And here's a guy that got in foul trouble. He didn't let that to diminish him. He still came in and still put up some really good numbers. He's an important and integral part of the success of that Knicks basketball team.
No doubt. I want to get Rick's thoughts next on Game 5 tonight. Right here on Full.
You wouldn't have your ex officiate your wedding.
Do you, Jake? Liar? Cheater? Gaslighter?
So why have anyone but America's largest injury law firm handle your injury case? With over $30 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big.
Gaslighter, coitus crier, he's got more red flags than a bullfighter's attire.
Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
One of my favorite people talking NBA basketball, one of my favorite people, period. Top 25 players in the history of the NBA. Rick Barry joins us now. Rick, you've always been pretty critical of NBA officiating. Obviously, again, another thing that people are looking at going into this series here. How do you think it's gone so far in the first 4 games of the series?
Well, let me say so. I haven't always been critical of them. I'm critical of the fact that they are inconsistent. There's a rule book. Call the game according to the rule book. And sadly, when playoffs come along, it's like there's another rule book. They don't call fouls that are normally fouls. Then they're inconsistent. As a player, you can adjust. If they're calling it close, you'll adjust to that. If they're letting you get away with stuff, you're going to go and get away with it. Problem is, you don't know when they're going to be when they're going to call it close, when they're going to let it go. You have to call it the same way the entire game. And they're not doing that. And then come playoff time, and I always used to say, God rest his soul, David Stern. David, why do you want to give the less skilled players an advantage by letting them play so physical? Doesn't take talent to hold, shove, push. And the stuff they're doing out there is insane. I mean, one of the times I saw Karl Anthony Towns was actually just holding on to Wemby and grabbing him while something was going on. No whistle. 2 guys kill each other, wound up on the court, on the floor, no whistle. Then they barely touch somebody and breathe on him, and they're calling the foul. It's just so inconsistent. Players will adjust. Just call it to the rule book. I'm not even getting into carrying the ball. Oh, my God, Brunson carries the ball so much. All the players carry the ball. That's a joke. The moving screens are a joke. The traveling is a joke at times. It's very hard for me to watch the game because call me a purist, old school, whatever. No, I'm someone who learned how to play the game according to the way it was designed to be played. And they're letting these guys get away with murder, and it's hard to watch. And I just wish some of the guys out there, well, that might have been a foul. No, just say it. Hey, that should have been a foul. They killed him. The official swallowed his whistle. Anyway, tonight's game is going to be very interesting. It's not over. You got to eliminate them. They're playing on the road. San Antonio, I think, should definitely be up 3-1. But their inexperience and their inability to play down the stretch when the game was on the line. But just think of how many games that they had double-digit leads, 12, 14 points, 29 points, and lost the games. That's inexcusable. That really is inexcusable. It falls on the players, but I also think an inexperienced coach. I mean, anyway, after they lost those 2 games at home, I heard Popovich came in and read the riot act and talked to them somewhat, and they responded with the win, in New York, and they should have had a second win. So it'd be fun to see what happens. I tell everybody, you want to watch the NBA, always expect the unexpected, because not a chance in the world that you would have thought that the Knicks could win that game down 29 points in the first half.
Rick, do you think the San Antonio Spurs would go down the same lane as what the Knicks did? Last year, they fired Tom Thibodeau, and they brought in Mike Brown. If they get knocked out of this finals 4-1, would you make a move at head coach?
I don't know. I mean, you have to learn, and you learn the easiest way. The fastest way, it's not credit to anybody. They said the fastest way to learn how to do something right is to do it wrong. Well, I'm sure that the coach has learned a valuable lesson by what he's done here, and that he probably won't make the same mistakes again, which helped make him a better coach. But obviously, he's got this team playing good basketball. They play hard for him. They've had a great season. And, I think it would be a little bit premature. You basically want to just hope that this has been a great learning experience, but it's not over yet until it's over. But if they do lose, you sit down, you have a long talk with them, say, look, we love the job that you've done. Hopefully you've learned. What did you learn from this experience? And just hear from him and see if he really did learn from this experience. That's going to make him a better coach in the years ahead. But I think it's premature to get rid of him because of that. I mean, my God, the team has played exceptionally well, and they have great talent. And if they can keep this team together, they're going to be a contender for years to come.
A guy not named Wemby tonight for the San Antonio Spurs. Who has to show up tonight for the Spurs not named Wemby?
Well, the whole team has to show up. You don't win by one person. I mean, it takes more than one person to win a championship. If Wemby's struggling, somebody else has to step up. But a lot of the guys have to. I mean, the guy that I keep mispronouncing his name all the time, and I apologize for it. It's kind of like the French name and everything. He's got to step up. He was 0 for 7 from 3-point range. And you just have to be smart. Here's the thing. If the 3-point shot is not falling for you, okay, You have to do something. Go to the basket. Go get an offensive rebound. Get out on the break. Find another way to score so you maybe get to the free throw line, make a couple of shots. And then, even if you're a percentage shooter from three-point range, you don't just quit. If you get a wide open look and a good opportunity, you still take it. But you don't just keep jacking them up. If you jack them up and they're not wide open, good looks at the basket and early in the clock. So, guys like that have to step up, but they all just have to play the way that they've been playing and just play more intelligently at the game when they get a lead. They just don't play smart when they get a lead. They do hurt themselves. They're their own worst enemy. It's probably the best way to describe it. The Spurs are their own worst enemy. They playing hard, they play hard all the time, but they play into their hands. They didn't make hardly any turnovers in the first half. The second half, they might have dumb turnovers, throwing all the way. Guys are doing a lot of things that caused them all kinds of problems. And that's the inexperience. These guys, a lot of young guys on this team. It's remarkable that they've gotten to where they've gotten with so many young players. That's just rare for that to happen. And it's hurting them right now. That inexperience really is hurting them because some of the things that they're doing, 2-3 years from now, these same players would never be doing the same thing they're doing now because they will have learned what to do and how to play in these types of situations.
Rick, you played in the era when the Knicks were great and they were winning those championships with Willis Reed. I can't believe the NBA, the ratings right now, is it really just New York in what's going on? Or is it the fabric of New York's team of why people are so identified with it and Jalen Brunson and blue collar and what have you? I mean, they really have brought the fans back.
Well, here's the situation. New York has always been a great professional sports city, and they love their teams. And the people now, they've had a drought. I mean, they've waited so many decades to have a chance to have a championship team, so everybody's all propped up and happy for it. I don't think around the country that people are all excited that it's the Knicks that are there. There's also a lot of people very excited about the fact that it's Wemby, who's an exciting guy, and the San Antonio Spurs, nice young players. It's just that they are playing exciting games, even though a lot of the stuff is crazy that's going on, and that will draw you. Close games bring people in. The quality of the play could be horse manure, but if the game is close, fans are excited about it, okay? And so the games have been incredibly exciting. What is it, 8 points difference in all of the games that they've had to determine who's winning or not. So I'm looking forward to tonight's game, and let's see if the Spurs learn a little bit of a lesson. I'm hoping that they win because I would love to see them go back to play the next game, Game 6 in Madison Square Garden.
Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate the final thought. Next. The story of the week for me has been not just the World Cup and what we've seen with some of the NFL storylines. It's been this Brendan Sorsby story. You know, we opened up the program talking about why I think the kids should play. Now we're going to hit on what's happening with the collateral damage that this story has created. So now the Big 12. This past Thursday had a conference call with all the ADs and presidents of the conference. And they're going to try to circumnavigate the court's decision that was made a week ago for the kid to be able to get his eligibility back and play for Texas Tech. Why in God's name would you do that? Why in God's name is everyone having a cow over this kid playing when you created this? This situation has been waiting for decades. Look, I am a big proponent on paying college athletes. I think kids should be able to transfer. You know, I'm not like the old school guys that think college sports is heading in an awful place. I actually think it's heading in the right place. Finally, kids get a chance to go to school and be like a Mark Zuckerberg. Hey, Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates went to school to do what? To create wealth. Those guys went to school and they went to Harvard to create and do things, to create a future and to create a business and build a business. Well, today's athletes are a brand. And now you get an opportunity to start building that brand and learning how to build that brand in college. I've said this to you a couple weeks ago about Arch Manning. Before Arch Manning even leaves Austin and stops playing for the Texas Longhorns, he's going to have $20 million in the bank before he even takes an NFL snap. He already comes from generational wealth, but he's going to be in a position to not to have to play 14 years in the NFL. He's going to learn how to manage his money. He's going to be able to take advantage of his name and likeness and build a business and a brand. I think the next generation of kids that are coming out of college are going to be even smarter than the kids that we saw in the recent decades because you're going to be prepared. The Brendan Sorsby stories of the world, I think those are going to be stories that we're going to learn from. And we're going to hear and we're going to understand that. This is where kids are going. And by the way, there's no question, there's a hypocrisy that's going on in it. And here's the head football coach, Joey McGuire, talking about the Sorsby case and his quarterback.
Brendan Sorsby is recovering from an addiction. He's recovering. Like, I've sat down with this young man multiple times, and the things that he is going through and what he's been through is serious. As a society, we've been okay with other things that happens and allowing players to play, and this has been the one thing that has united people that we're against, you know, and it's crazy because it's not murder, it's not beating somebody, or it's so there's a lot of things that we're working through.
I happen to agree with that. Listen, either you believe in rehabilitation or you don't. If a kid's going and truly getting help for his gambling addiction and he's rehabilitated, everybody should get the opportunity to get a chance to play. You know, you see all these folks that are in prison and you hear people saying, well, this guy doesn't deserve an opportunity. You know, tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about Henry Ruggs being denied his parole. I think Henry Ruggs should have an opportunity to play again. If he does his time and he has an ability to be able to play, we'll talk more about it yesterday, but I believe in rehabilitation. If a guy wants to get better and a guy wants to take all the counseling, he has every right to have another shot at second chances. I'm a second chance guy. I'm here. I'm a second chance dude. I can't stand cancel culture. These people, they pick and choose because they're not consistent. Anyone who's on that side of the aisle, when it comes to cancel culture, they're not consistent. To me, you either do it one way or the one way, and that's this. You either give everybody an opportunity at second chances or you don't believe in rehabilitation. I know I've said this before about Michael Vick. I'll never forgive Michael Vick because I'm an animal guy. But I love what Michael Vick is doing in his life. He works with PETA. He's trying to make his life better. I believe in redemption. And I believe that a kid deserves the opportunity to play. These people who don't believe in rehabilitation, to me, they talk out of both sides of their mouths. I think the kid deserves to play. This is something that we've created. The NCAA doesn't like it. Many of the old hats don't like it, that the kid's now exposed what all the problems were in college sports. And I can't wait to see Brendan Sorsby play for Texas Tech. I'm looking forward to it. And I think the Big 12 is in for a great season. We'll see you Sunday. We'll catch you on the flip side.